Hello. Well, it's been a while. Um, as you can see, I'm probably a bit older than, I don't know, what, 6 months ago since I last recorded a video. Yeah, I'd like to say it was some freak painting accident that made me all this grey, but no, it's just age. Anyway, the reason for the video is I promised a little while ago to share some information on a way that I was working. And yes, anyway, I'll go through that, and it will all start to make sense. So basically, since the start of the year, I have been following 3 habits, tracking them in my daily habit tracker. And a couple of them more around health, sort of no drinking for 100 days and no crisps and chocolate snacks for 100 days. Halfway through, woohoo! One of the other things was to sort of reinvigorate my morning routine, which is 10 minutes of meditation, 30 minutes of reading, stroke learning, 20 minutes or so of journaling, a walk, and having all of that ready so that I can have breakfast with the kids. And it's been going really well, and I'm so glad that I've restarted it. And it's brought a lot more structure to my life, and things just feel generally a lot better. But when it comes to the reading, one of the things that I've always felt is that I'm not making enough of that reading as a learning opportunity. So I read some great books. You can see some of them there. There's another shelf above it. And I read some great books, and some of it goes in and some of it stays. But a lot of it I feel is lost. But I've never been, or never was, a great student. Never particularly good at retaining and making notes and doing all those sorts of things. I felt I needed to. But then, following a conversation with someone at a pen show and putting a few things together, I came up with a new way of sort of reading and trying to get something back from that reading. So I promised to share it, and that's what I'm doing now. So it came about, as I say, because I'd been sort of swapping sort of various verbal notes with someone else who does a lot of reading and studying and does some wonderful notes, but has a discipline that I just know I wouldn't be able to follow. And sort of adding to that, something that I read right back in probably one of the first books I ever read, which was or first personal development books I ever read, which was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he's got a line in there which is learn to teach. And what he means by that is when you're learning, when you're reading, approach it in a way that you've got to explain it to someone. I think it's like he says 24 or 48 hours later. And it really gives you a very different perspective on the subject that you're reading. Because reading it for your own mind and own understanding and reading it to be able to explain it are 2 different things. So I love that. I love what this other person did in terms of their own studying. And I'd wanted to get into using my A6, which I've used on and off ever since I had it made. And nothing had ever really sort of gelled, and I tried to make it a commonplace book, but again, lacked the discipline to keep that going. Tried it as a diary, but actually felt a better, which you can just see in the corner down there, using a sort of week to a page and notes and a bit of a bullet journal method. So I was sort of not quite sure how to use this. And then I had a bit of a aha moment, not the Scandinavian pop band, sort of a eureka moment. And so this is now I suppose you'd call it a learning journal. But basically I have an A6 pen band. And what I've been doing is, as I've been reading, so this is my current book, The Courage to Be Disliked, which is fantastic, very much enjoying it. I'm not going to embarrass myself or them by trying to read out the author's names, but it really is an excellent book, all about I suppose really it's Albert Adler's psychological thoughts. He was a student of Freud, as I understand it, but then they had a parting of ways because they had a different belief about how much control people have over their lives. Freud believes, according to what I've read, that sort of events in our past determine our future, whereas Adler believes that we can all achieve anything, and our past is just our past. And if we're self-reliant and work in harmony with society, we can achieve anything that we want to achieve, which is brilliant and a great book, great way of approaching it. But the way that I'm now working, we're about 10 days in, so I'm fairly confident that it's going to stick, is my 30 minutes of reading has become 25 minutes of reading, and I've got a little timer that I set. And as I'm reading, I go through and I highlight with a fairly standard, excuse my back, highlighter pen. Actually, while I'm turning round, I might as well get my timer, which is what I use, and as you turn it, the amount of time goes up and then it sort of ticks down, and I better finish this video before it starts beeping. But basically, as I go through my latest book, what I do is I just highlight sections that for me are particularly interesting. Nothing usual, I've been doing that for a while. And then I do sort of highlight up with these pretty little tabs where they are, although in a good book like that it gets a little bit excessive. And on the subject of those, I know you'll like this. So I used to have lots of these little plastic tabs that I'd picked up years ago, and I finally got through them, and I was struggling to find some more, and being the cheapskate I am, I was trying to find them cheaply, and then I found this deal on Amazon, 4,200 of these little tabs. Here's a selection of them. And let me say, you don't need 4,200. I'm going to be reading until I'm about 99, and I've given a load of them away to my daughter. There are more in the desk drawer, and this is just some more of them. And they're great, but you really don't need 4,200 of them. So you can buy a few less if that's what you're going to be doing. But then, as I say, as I go through, read the book, with a mindset that is very much learn to teach. How can I sort of take this advice forward for myself and for someone else? And then at the end of each 25 minutes, I then spend 5 or so minutes with my A6, and I'm using these day to a page pages that we do. And so each day I write in the page numbers that I've read, so that makes it for easy reference. Oh, actually, there's a bit at the beginning which I've forgotten to mention, which is that because I'm intending to do this longer term, I've written out the books and sort of title, author, and when I started it and when I finished it. But then, yeah, so every morning after I've read, I fill in one of these pages with the highlighted parts of the book that I've read. And the small page format really works because, you know, it could get a bit expansive and that would put me off. So, you know, knowing that you've got to fit it all onto a page, and then what I do at the top part of it is I actually try and use that for the key learning of the morning. Now, sometimes it's just something that I picked up out of the book. Other times it's written in a different colour. It's written in red, actually. And these are really high res videos, so I'm not particularly, I'm going to hold it up to you because it might be something quite personal. But I write it in red at the top if there's been a particular learning that's affected me. But yeah, so, and you know, there's a couple of blank pages. So yeah, so tomorrow morning, is it? Yeah, 19th. I will read my book. I will make sort of notes and highlight bits and put sticky bits in as I go through of the key things from that morning's reading that I want to carry forward. And then I will sort of write them up at the end of the reading session. And that's it. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but for me, that's a big step forward because it's something that I'd never done. I'd never ever been able to make notes and get as much learning as I wanted to from the books. And now this has made quite a difference. I'm feeling I'm getting a much deeper level of learning, and also flicking back through the notes means that actually I can just pick up, you know, I would think probably in 10 pages or it might be 20 pages depending on the length of the book, the whole substance and what I found valuable and useful from the book without having to go back, because I always have this feeling when I finish a book that I must go back and reread it because to get as much out of it as I can, whereas now that sort of pressure has gone. So there you go. So that's just what I wanted to share with you. I promised I would, and so I did. I've very much enjoyed doing this video again, so I think I might have to start doing more videos, and I might start doing my book reports again as I'm finishing books. But yes, so yes, The Courage to Be Disliked, I think highly recommended. I'm halfway through, and I think it's only going to get better. The last book I read was Know What You're For by Jeff Henderson, marketing book. I heard about on a podcast. Quite good, fairly small book. Central idea that gets repeated a bit, but it's a good idea. So I picked some useful bits up that are in the start of this. And then I did ask for reading recommendations from I think both Facebook and Instagram recently, because I got down to one book left. And there are, I think, 9 or so of, hang on, try and do that. There they are, look. 9 or so of the books that I ordered. I've still got some more on their way, so I should be kept busy for a while. So yeah, so there you go. And as normal, I've rambled on way too long, but thank you for staying with it so long. And yeah, if any questions, or actually any of your own tips on the best way to extract learning from a reading practice or any sort of learning practice, please feel free to leave them in the comments. So thank you very much indeed.